Hi everyone, I'm Sloan from SloanBella.com, and I'm here with another channeled energetic celebrity video, which means I'm channeling the energy around a particular person who is still alive and their current circumstances and the chaos in the media about their conversations. So this young man I knew nothing about until you guys started bringing him up in my live feed. So this morning I woke up and thought, God, I feel like doing this. And so I started with his astrology chart, and I'm talking about Armie Hammer, and that name makes me laugh, and I apologize for that, but I just keep thinking Armie Hammer, who named him this. So his parents are pranksters to begin with. However, let's back it up and look at his chart in all seriousness, because the controversy that he's embroiled in at the moment actually is pretty off the wall if it's true. So I wanted to find out energetically. All right, looking at his astrology chart, he is born on August 28th, 1986, a Virgo sun. He's got that Virgo sun squaring Saturn, and very briefly, sun square Saturn, karmic responsibility through the father, son side of the family, father, grandfather. Sun, Saturn. He was also, and I found this most interesting, a 29-degree Gemini rising. So the whole pivotal focus of his chart is in that 29th degree. Even though the first house moves into the sign of Cancer, 29 degrees of Gemini means he doesn't get free of responsibility through communicating until he learns how to communicate. And I think that that's the issue he's in at the moment. His moon is also in Gemini, so he's a double Gemini, but the moon is up in the 12th house of Pisces. So it is actually behind the ascendant and hidden. And it's interesting because anybody with the 12th house moon understands that there's a Piscean effect to it because it lives in the 12th house. And being in Gemini and being female, the moon, your mother and females, this was very interesting because it means past life, 12th house past life, women from your past life, hidden enemies. And look who leaked his conversations, the females that he was communicating with. Now, granted, if what they say is true, and I'm going to get to that because I have felt around it in my own reading to be able to establish it. But I just wanted to first start out by saying he also has 2 T-squares and a bunch of other things that when combined in his chart make it very unique. Moon in opposition to Uranus. So erratic mood swings out of nowhere comes from the mother, okay? From the 12th, 6th. Very interesting. When you look at the Mars conjuncting Neptune, which is retrograde in the 7th house of partnerships in Capricorn. It is a wide conjunction. Neptune is at 3 degrees and Mars is at 13. So that's 10, and that's a huge wide orb, as in it's not a tight conjunction, but the sun Saturn's within a degree. And then we have Venus in Libra. Now, this is just something from my many, many years of doing astrology, over 38. Okay. So in my lifetime, when you see a Venus or a Mars or a moon in the sign of Libra, you are coming from a violent expression. Now, the Venus in Libra would mean the woman along with the moon in opposition to Uranus, meaning his mother was a little bit off of center, a little bit, a little bit out there on a limb. So when I looked at the chart, I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then I saw it. I saw Cancer in the first house. Cancer is a sign that will hoard, control, and stop from other people abandoning them. So look at the sign of Cancer. Look at how one may control somebody so that they are never left alone. If I were to ingest something or somebody or put it onto my body or carry it with me, I can keep it with me. This is why people keep mementos and tokens. But let's go back even farther to what I was getting. Now, it's kind of interesting because when I look at the family, and I look at both sides of the family, I'm talking about Armie's mother and father and mother actually, because my right side's my father's side. When I look at the energy, a lot of the family's behaviors and expectations come from the father, grandfather, and that established ancestry going all the way back. So Armie was raised in a family where what he is speaking about and what he is talking about is not unusual. It is expressions that he has learned throughout childhood. What I do find interesting is in a controlled environment, for example, if you're raised in a family and the family says grace every night at dinner, you kind of grow up thinking that that's what you do. You don't really give it a second thought. So it's on his father's side presented very traditionally or very reasonably within the context of the family. Where it gets crazy for him is the interaction he had with the mother figure, mother, growing up, and the irregularity and erratic connection to her emotional love. Very hard for him to deal with the way that she expressed her love for him. So he got very caught off guard, as in, I am loved very much, and then I am put in a corner and I'm ignored. I'm loved again very much, and then I'm put in another corner and ignored. I'm loved in a different way, maybe crossing boundaries between parent and child, but I'm loved, someone's paying attention to me, and then I'm put in a corner. The whole time that I'm being, quote, loved by the female mother in the family, I am also enduring criticism, which is making me feel like I'm not lovable. So I am being seen to myself as not being lovable. That's what I'm seeing going on with him. The other thing that I wanted to say, I believe it was a girlfriend that outed his messages to him, or to her from him, and I believe it was other females, and there was question of underage children, etc., etc. The usual that we hear from the Hollywood type, and I'm not even joking about that. It's so consistently the same that it makes you see it in a different way. As in, if all these people are participating in a certain lifestyle, like let's say if you lived in a community of nudists and then you went to Chicago and nobody's naked in Chicago, but you start running around the streets naked because you come from a community or a cult of nudists. So people would look at you like you would be outlandish, okay? Outlandish. They'd be like, what the hell? Put some clothes on. So what I'm getting with Armie, which is very interesting, is he does not feel he's doing anything wrong. He cannot associate his communication with any kind of wrongdoing, which I find very interesting. I also feel like his wife, I think her name was Elizabeth, not the girlfriend, not whoever he was dating, but the wife, she full well knows what's going on and there's no shock there. So when she speaks out in a particular way and she talks about, you know, this is shocking, I'm shocked, I'm this, that's a bunch of no, she's not shocked. There's no shock going on there. She may be shocked that he got caught or shocked that it was presented outwardly. It may be shocking that she was associated with him and therefore her secrets are being uncovered, because I get between the two of them a particular kind of compliance. So there's a particular kind of, even if I don't agree with you, I will stand by my man and do by my man what he says, even though they were divorced. So something hit her where she stepped away from him. But having said that, the behaviors that are described by him, especially with much younger people, are very accurate from what I'm picking up energetically. So my hands were tingling like crazy when I started to pick up on this information. Like there was electricity going through my hands. That led me down to the father's side of the family. So this would be Armie's father, and then consecutively the grandfather, and that family are very practiced at using the energy through their hands. It's actually what I was showing. My hands were actually vibrating. So the fact that they understand particular energy expressions and use the strength of one's hands. I have no idea what that means exactly, but that's what I was picking up. My hands literally started to vibrate. So the way that Armie was raised was normal to him. I guess all of our childhoods are normal to us until somebody says, well, I ate 3 meals a day and I got new shoes. If you're living in a box, you're like, well, I didn't have that happen, but you don't really know that you're not normal. So there is a part of high-bred coaching, and this is a word that they wanted me to use, and I don't know what that means either. But high-bred, he was highly bred in order to carry on something throughout the family. This was just normal. This is what we do. Kind of like your mom dresses you in your Sunday best on Sunday. This family participated in things in a particular way. Problem with the family, no offense to the mother, but was the mother's erratic emotional nature and the way that it affected her child and the way that he expressed himself, because his whole energy is about communication and the way in which he communicates and how people take that communication, which right now is not too well. I also wanted to point out, not understand, I wanted to explain maybe a different way of looking at this. If somebody does not think that they're doing something wrong, then are they doing something wrong? By our standards, perhaps. There's a disconnect between this actor, this man, and the behavior that he suggests, and then what other people feel it is. So he is not aware of how he's affecting people with his conversation. He has a lot of power. Now, part of what he's doing is trying to debase, or corrupt the people that he's with. So it's a corruptive tactic. In other words, if I am in an intimate love relationship with you and we are together privately and I say, you know what, I think I just want to have like a threesome with a hooker. I say something like that. And it's not your natural nature to even want to do that, but you want me so badly that you will acquiesce your own boundaries. This is what he's about. This is what his mother did to him. But his mother did so out of the boundaries of the family system. So I don't know if his parents were divorced or not, but this was done out of bounds in the family. So the family's behavior with what they're accusing him of doing, what he likes to eat, his predilection for a particular kind of substance, I can't say here. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's totally blasphemous. It's totally not, it's not what people sit down and do. I'm surprised PETA people aren't up in arms at the moment, but there's a particular focus, there's a particular focus with him on how he views it. He doesn't view it as wrong. This is normal. It's like he gets into an altered corruptive state. So on an energetic level, he's trying to corrupt those around him through the teachings of the family, but not fully, because the mother took it up a notch and went a little bit cuckoo over here. So the mother's influence is the one that he's operating off of. And there's part of him that is in denial about what he's doing, because if he actually came to terms with what he was doing, saying, and suggesting, he would unravel the family's belief system, which goes all the way back. It goes all the way back to the hierarchy on the father's side of the family. So the father's side of the family is coming from a very, quote, high position, and these children, the father, the child, the grandchildren, etc., are being presented in a particular way. So this is a family structure. So when we hear of people who describe what he's describing, I'm talking all around in circles so I don't get nailed, but when we hear people describing what he's describing, this is generationally learned, and he's to coach it in a higher sense. And the purpose of it is to corrupt that which is happy, peaceful, joyful. So it's corruptive in nature. In fact, just think about it. If you were out on a date with somebody and they actually suggested to you the things that he suggests, you'd be like, I I'm out of here. Peace, bro. I'm out. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care if I was bare ass naked. I might go outside as the nudist to get the hell away from him. But I don't feel it's completely made up. Maybe the motivations for the people that spoke out about him might be a little bit made up, but he himself, this is not made up. This is something he practices, and it goes very, very deep. Now, because he is a Virgo sun, the OCD with the Cancer in the first house, the sign of, not the disease of, but the sign of Cancer in his first house makes him very OCD, very, very OCD. So his focus is on extremes and repetitive thinking. The Virgo part, when I looked at his chart with the T-squares, okay? When I looked at his chart, I looked at the way that his brain functions, and it very much functions in a very heightened, compartmentalized way of dealing with people. And the way that he deals with them is the way that he's been taught. He is not even aware of things that he has done, and he has done them. So I don't feel all of it is false. I mean, maybe one person's jumping on the bandwagon. And for the family to say they're unaware of this, they've been aware of this since he was a little boy. So that's not true. This is something that he spoke about, something that he did. Very strange, overly bound to the mother's expression. So let's say the mother was on psych meds. Let's just say that. I don't know if she was. I'm not picking that up. But let's say she was a mother on psych meds, right? And so her expressions and the way that she deals with the world could be very erratic. He is very focused on that erratic thought form coming directly from the mother. The father's side of the family practiced what he speaks of in very, it's just normal in their family, but it was done so under the guise of any other quote, like the nudist religion. Okay, just call it a nudist religion to illustrate my point. Like being a nudist and then moving from a colony of nudists, and they're raised in a colony, a cult of nudists, and they think nothing wrong with walking around bare ass naked all day long. Even the strange looking ones, they think nothing of it. Sometimes it's more palatable when they're good looking, right? But they think nothing of it, and they go to a different part of the world, or they express themselves where they've normally been around their own. This goes back generations with him. This is no accident that this came out right now. He is being put out there because he's emotionally like a loose cannon. So in a particular way, he's like, he's that person that's just jumping off the roof going, yeah, let's do it. And you're like, but wait, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't care, let's go for it. He's that person. So he is being outed within the context of the nudist colony, if you get what I'm saying, coded. He's being outed in that way. So he is being pushed on an emotional level to express these things in order to curtail his not being able to be controlled, just like his mother couldn't be controlled. So there's elements to that part of his personality. It's also very much considered a delicacy within his family. You know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you go to different countries and they eat certain things and they're like, this is a delicacy. Personally, I stick to leafy green plants when I go anywhere, just basically, or a tomato or an apple. Very simple. So he is a person who has facilitated, okay, indoctrinated people in his family into the same circle. This is considered a delicacy, and he thinks nothing wrong of it. The problem with him is when it first was assigned to him, when it first got into his thinking, is because it was attached. This is a problem. It was attached to a sexual reaction. That's why the two are coming up in tandem. So he is not able to communicate or separate the communication on an emotional level. He is in tandem with his erection and his thinking. The two are in tandem. So every time he sees this, This happens. That is a hard addiction, no pun intended, to get out of. That's actually what's going on with him. But it's also learned behavior in the context of where he was born into. And if they think they're not doing anything wrong, let's look at it again. An example I use quite often is if you are born in the rainforest and you are of a headhunter's family, and this is normal, you're cannibals and you're of a headhunter's family, then at a certain point in time, your behavior is not known as bad to you because your whole community does it. It's not until you go into, quote, the mainstream world or the regular world or people outside of your community, which he hasn't really done, which the wife, because she married him, was full well aware of it. I'm not getting that just because she married him, but she is aware of it. So when you look at the energy of this man and what he said, energetically, this is something he feels is normal. So when he's defending it and apologizing for it, he is in denial about what he has done and said because for him, this is normal. This is normalcy. He is under the impression that people are like this. And as such, the people in his environment have never said, no, don't do that. But when he started stepping outward and seeping in. So just pretend you are, another good analogy which came to me, and I had a friend growing up that was a sleepwalker. He was a little kid and he used to walk out his front door, walk here, there, like in a hypnotic state. But he was just a little kid that did this. And they had to like literally put alarms on everything, put baby gates there so he'd fall going through the front door so they'd be alerted. Because this kid was walking down the street always in his pajamas in the middle of the night, completely not knowing where he was. I see this actor's personality very similar. He steps out as one thing and another thing comes out of him. His family is aware of this, but it's getting uncontrollable right now. So they cannot control what has been taught to him, okay, through what I want to call the beast system, but let's call it, okay, the coaching hierarchy. He kind of has a flaw in that. There's a flaw. Something about his mother flawed the reception of this information, and now he's out of control. This is what's going on in the media. This is why he had to be outed. But he, like a few other people that say such things, does not understand what's wrong with him. It's very normal. So it's like being raised in the nudist colony and you're naked. I might look at you and go, can you not sit on my chairs naked? Like, could you put some pants on? But to them, they're like, why? I always sit down. Like, I'm always naked. They think nothing of it. That's what I'm trying to articulate in this. So he is coming to a karmic kind of switch at a moment where part of this personality is integrating with part of this. And he's going to be shown over and over and over again. Now, due to his bouts with depression, which show in his chart, I would not be surprised if in the next 2.5 years, he comes under a lot of scrutiny within the self, and so that there may be other issues with him where he really is not taking care of himself, okay? Destroying oneself, because he has to acknowledge, I almost feel like this is going to sound really weird. I almost feel like there's a Christ consciousness coming to him, or a come to Jesus moment where he's going to be shown a path. You can continue on the family path, or you can turn away from it and see the reality of it. And I really feel like this is going to screw his head up in a way that he doesn't even know how to deal with it. And I think that that's what we're dealing with. I think that that's the issue we're dealing with him, is this complete not knowing how to deal with it. That is my first video on the energy of Armie Hammer. And again, my name is Sloan from SloanBella.com.